Greetings to the people of Earth. Earth languages only contain letters corresponding to sounds that can actually be spoken by a human mouth, and the number of sounds that a human mouth can make is somewhat limited. Hence, the various languages of Earth all have less than 100 letters. However, us Pleiadians have a telepathic language that contains a couple of thousand letters, because telepathic communication is not limited to the sounds that a human mouth can make. That is to say, I am trying to introduce myself, however my actual name is something that cannot be written down unless I first teach you several new letters that can be telepathically sent but cannot be spoken by a human mouth. After all, my parents were the kind of hipsters who gave me a name in our energy language and not a name in our spoken language, as most of my Pleiadian brothers and sisters have. So for example, Hakan has his name in our spoken language, and so you can easily find English letters that correspond to his name. If an Earth human says Hakan, then you're pretty much saying his actual name. However, my actual name is something that cannot be spoken by a human mouth. It can only be transmitted via telepathy, and hence my name also cannot really be written down using letters in any of your languages. Because of this, I'll just call myself Jake. I like the vibration of that word. So hi, nice to meet you. Call me Jake. By the way, when you learn our telepathic language, I really want to show you some beautiful and mind-expanding poetry. Remind me if you see me and I forget. I also have some truly terrible, groan-worthy puns that only make sense in our telepathic language. So, it's up to you if you dare to learn our language. If you don't learn our telepathic language, then I can't make terrible puns at you. Careful, I've become a father recently, so my dad joke power level is very high right now. Apparently dad jokes are such a phenomenon that is so inherent to humanity that both you and us independently invented a term for it. That just warms my heart. It's so good to know that both in the Pleiades and on Earth, dads make their wives groan with truly awful humor. Also, hello to the channeler. Glad to be working with you, AS. Channeler, I sense that you're a bit nervous and perhaps insecure to be channeling a new person, and that you are wondering if this will come out right. Your emotions are valid and understandable, but you really are doing a great job. You're nailing it. I appreciate you. Let me go back to addressing the people of Earth. Last week, my friend Tunia shared her flavor of unblocked feminine energy. In her message titled Tunia America's Political War is a Gender War, the Divine Feminine. She asked me to provide the male counterpart to that. So today I'll happily describe my personal flavor of unblocked masculine energy. This is what on Earth is more commonly called the divine masculine. However, Tunia and I prefer the term unblocked masculine energy. After all, the term divine masculine makes it sound more complicated and religious than it really is. Really, you become a so-called divinely masculine man just by unblocking yourself and releasing your resistance to masculinity and femininity. And that's what the term unblocked masculine energy points to. Furthermore, the terms masculine vs. divine masculine also suggests that there's a binary, and that people are one or the other. I think the term unblocked masculine does a better job of pointing out that there's a spectrum, from someone with completely blocked masculine energy to someone with fully unblocked masculine energy. To give some context, I have nearly full unblocked masculine energy. Most Pleiadian men have largely unblocked but not fully unblocked masculine energy. Conversely, most Earth men are mostly or even nearly completely blocked in their masculine energy. And hey, I empathize, life on Earth is really tough. I think the people of Earth are actually doing great given how horrible the situation is, so I'm not blaming or judging you at all. But still, that is the situation as I see it. Section non-duality. Before I start describing unblocked masculine energy, I will note that some people have the idea that talking about masculine and feminine energy is duality, and therefore it's not very spiritually advanced to talk about that, or at least the discussion is pointless because the goal is to evolve past masculinity and femininity. These people have the idea that at a high enough consciousness there is no duality. I disagree. At a high enough consciousness, there is simultaneously duality and non-duality. After all, it wouldn't be non-dual to claim that there is non-duality, but that there isn't duality. Claiming that there is non-duality but not duality is duality. I'm not just playing with words here. I respect you enough that I trust you to handle this complexity. I'm also serious about my claim that at a high enough consciousness, there is simultaneously duality and non-duality. Look at the yin-yang symbol. It is simultaneously dualistic, showing white and black halves, and non-dualistic, because it is a whole circle. Or consider source. Obviously, source is non-dual. Yet source is also clearly dual because none of existence is outside source, and existence is filled with plenty of duality. Remember that source isn't some being floating somewhere in the ether who is distinct from creation that is a dualistic, separation consciousness way of looking at things. Instead, your annoying neighbor is source, and your annoying neighbor is quite dualistic, is he not? Therefore, source is dualistic, and source is also non-dualistic. If we go a bit lower in consciousness, then we can consider an ET collective. And yes, it is certainly non-dual. However, it is simultaneously dual, being made up of approximately half masculine and half feminine beings. So it is non-dual, and it is dual. It's like the yin-yang circle, it is a whole, and also it is made up of masculine and feminine parts. If you look at highly evolved individual beings, then you can consider, for example, Ashtar Sharon, or Archangel Michael, or Jesus Yeshua, or Saint Germain, or Mother Mary, or the goddess Isis, or Gaia. And yes, these beings have attained a non-dual state of consciousness, but they simultaneously lean more towards the masculine or more towards the feminine energy. You can confirm this yourself by feeling into their energy. They are simultaneously dual and non-dual. So as you can see, it is a misunderstanding that at a high level of consciousness, beings aren't masculine or feminine. Instead, at a high consciousness, beings are dual and non-dual. They are masculine and feminine. They are well balanced in their masculine and feminine energy, and they lean more towards either masculinity or femininity. It's not that higher consciousness beings have eliminated both masculinity and femininity. Instead, they have unblocked both their masculinity and femininity and balanced them out, while generally still leaning towards one or the other. Hence, it is useful for the people of Earth to also unblock their masculinity and femininity. Now, even if you insist on arguing that at a high consciousness beings aren't masculine or feminine, well, do you expect that in the near future you will have a higher consciousness than the still clearly gendered Ashtar or Archangel Michael or Jesus or Saint Germain or Mother Mary or Goddess Isis or Gaia? Probably not. Hence, it is useful to unblock your masculinity and femininity and to release your resistance to it. Even if you think of that as an intermediate step, well, okay, but you can't skip middle school. You're not going to transcend gender if your masculine or feminine energy is blocked, or if you are in resistance to masculinity or femininity, as most Earth people are. Whatever you resist persists, and if you resist gendered energy, then you're certainly not going to transcend it. Also, look at the timeline. The last few centuries, Westerners thought that men should be masculine and women should be feminine, and society flourished and developed and became more prosperous. Then the West dropped the idea that men should be masculine and women should be feminine. Soon after that, the West started crumbling. The economy strongly deteriorated, antidepressant use and mental illness shot up, suicides increased, lots of people went crazy or at least went off the rails, women's happiness declined and 60% of young men became single. Now, yes, correlation isn't causation, and also there are lots of things that changed in the last decade. Still, if you're going to drop the men should be masculine, women should be feminine, the idea that Earth humans have had for all their existence, and then everything starts crumbling. Well, in that context, I would be open to the possibility that androgynous gender roles maybe aren't a good default. Sure, for a few people, androgynous gender roles are optimal, but not for most people. Yes, it is true that women shouldn't be forced to be feminine, and shouldn't be forced to be quiet, and shouldn't be banned from university, etc. Obviously, free will and equal rights are important. Still, for the average man, it is good to unblock their masculinity, which is most likely at least partially blocked in them. And yes, for the average woman, it is good to unblock her femininity, which is most likely at least partially blocked in her. And while an updated version of the traditional gender roles shouldn't be forced on people, it is still optimal for most people. In my mind, the whole "let's eliminate gender and make everyone androgynous and give everyone androgynous gender roles" is part of the Baphomet Dark Controller agenda. Because really, it's the death of relationships. After all, a masculine person and a feminine person will feel magnetically drawn together. However, two androgynous, half masculine, half feminine people generally don't feel a particular need for or as much magnetism towards each other, because neither person has energy that the other really lacks and desires. Hence, we see far fewer people being in relationships nowadays. Also, most men saying that we should transcend gender are probably still looking for a feminine romantic partner. Men in 2024 still generally like it when their girlfriend follows if he takes the lead, if she is pleasant, is nurturing and kind, is willing to cook and clean, and is happy to have regular sex. Men still generally dislike it when their girlfriend has the masculine attribute of being competitive, or has the masculine attribute of making more money than him. Women in 2024 still generally like it when her boyfriend is willing and able to take the lead in appropriate situation, if he says what he thinks, if he is dependable, if he makes at least as much money as she does and ideally a bit more, if he is able to protect her, if he is strong and emotionally stable and grounded, if he has a purpose, if he can fix things around the house, etc. Women still generally dislike it when their boyfriend has the feminine attribute of being relatively emotionally volatile. Women still generally dislike it when their boyfriend has the feminine attribute of prioritizing getting along and niceness, rather than the masculine attribute of being assertive and saying what he thinks. So most men who don't want to unblock their masculinity will still prefer a partner with certain feminine attributes. Most women who don't want to unblock their femininity still prefer a partner with certain masculine attributes, using a sensible definition of masculine, and not a definition of masculine that only contains negative traits. I think people are just in resistance to unblocking their own masculinity or femininity and being masculine or feminine. I think this resistance comes from cultural messaging, from society not being open and emotionally safe towards masculine men and feminine women, from childhood messaging or experiences, and from past or past life trauma. I also think that people are so sick of all the suffering that they want to escape from it, and therefore they're picturing that a couple of years from now they'll all be living in some magical non-dual paradise where everything is perfect and there's practically no suffering, no dualism, and no work left to do. Well, I do think your lives are likely to be much better a couple of years from now, but most likely a couple of years from now, you'll still be physical men and physical women whom it would benefit to unblock their masculinity and femininity. Most likely a couple years from now, you'll still be physical men and women living in a dualistic world, just in a much nicer dualistic world than you live in today. Still, that's not necessarily bad news. A couple years from now, likely though not guaranteed, you will have had healing, and a release of information and technology and genuine teachings and ET contact. A couple of years from now, you may absolutely love playing and being in a dualistic, physical world. Personally, I'm a physical, masculine man in a relationship with a feminine woman, and I am incredibly happy, and I am loving life. Personally, I wouldn't want to trade my current life for a non-physical, non-dual existence, because I'm having way too much fun. Once you have actually healed and physically met us, you may very well feel the same way. I've been replying to the term non-duality as it's often used in spiritual circles. However, there is also another definition of non-duality, which is there is clearly duality, it's just that on a deep level, everything is one. And sure, I agree with that statement. Also, of course, if we take this view of non-duality, then it still makes sense to unblock our femininity and masculinity and release our resistance to it. It's just good to keep in the back of our minds that ultimately all is one, which is true. Section my flavor of unblocked masculinity. With that said, let's answer Tunia's question. I'm excited. What does unblocked masculine energy feel like? Well, it feels freaking amazing. I love the way it feels. I love the way I feel in my body. It feels like I am soft and flowing and in tune, but I also feel strong and super capable and very intuitive. It's like I can do or create anything I put my mind to. No one can put me in a box. There is no box that I fit into, because I'm me, and I'm bringing a unique contribution to the universe, just by being me. There is no one else who can be me, and I inherently have infinite value, just like other people inherently have infinite value. I don't have to do anything, because I'm already me, and I'll always be me, and I'll always express myself, no matter what the world says. If someone doesn't like that, then that's not my problem. I'm normally pretty chill. However, if someone threatens an innocent person, then I will not put up with that. I will stand up for them, and I have no problem with confronting people if needed. Also, if I see my loved ones making a decision that I think is very bad, then I will tell them clearly to their face what I think, because after all, I care about them, and I would want them to do the same to me. And if they then go on with their choice anyway, well, fine, they have free will. I don't feel like I have to do anything. But there is a lot that I really want to do. I'm a very passionate person. There are lots of things that I enjoy and that I still want to experience. I'm really curious to taste Earth chocolate, for example. I would also like to take a long walk on your world with the people of Earth, and then when it's night and we're well away from the cities, I want to look up and see what the stars look like when viewed from Earth. And then, it seems only fair that I invite you on my spaceship and show you around on those planets. I want to lend a helping hand to the people of Earth, because I don't think most of my galactic brothers and sisters fully understand just how horrible living on Earth is. I'm not sure that I even fully understand that, even though I've tried to educate myself. You have my love and respect and empathy. I want to take care of other people in general and create a space and opportunities where other people can thrive and express themselves and become themselves and not have to be afraid or struggle for their basic necessities. I love helping other people and seeing them develop. It feels so good to do so. I sense that you, channeler, are having a thought or fear about other people competing with you in certain domains. Well, my heart feels for you, but personally, I don't fear anyone because I'm already me, and that's enough. And no one can possibly be better at being me than I am. So when I provide for other people, when I take care of some small physical matters, when I help other people grow and become themselves and lift my brothers and sisters up, then that's no threat to me. In fact, I love doing that. I get so much enjoyment from that. It's just so rewarding to do that. I already have so much, both in terms of physical abundance and in the kind of wealth that I feel deep inside my heart and in my soul. So why wouldn't I share? It feels like I have an infinite amount to give, and I enjoy people's joy. I feel like I can take care of pretty much any number of people. I can create things so easily that it's not a problem. Source flows through me, and if I put my mind to something, then it's done. Everything just comes to me so naturally. Everything I want either manifests, or I just create it myself. In fact, sometimes I create things that other people aren't even aware are possible. I love creating things, I love inventing things, I love being creative and artistic and expressing myself. I also love helping the people around me expand the boundaries of their thinking. There is an Earth quote that I like: talent hits a target no one else can hit, genius hits a target no one else can see. I love hitting targets that other people don't even realize exist. It's such a rich experience to be the first one to do or create something, and it's really rewarding to see the eyes of other people light up and see their horizons expand when they realize what I've done. It's beautiful to see other people realize that creation is such a rich diamond and that it contains yet one more facet than they previously realized. It's beautiful to see other people express themselves in a new way that you trailblazed. No one's mind seems to quite think like my mind does, and I love the ideas that my mind produces. I also love turning my ideas into practical reality and then sharing that with other people. What other people see as a limit, I see as a fun challenge. I don't say I can't do this. Instead, I say, how am I going to do this? I love pushing the boundaries of what people think is possible. I love helping someone push the limits of what they think they are capable of, because I'm sure you are all capable of so much more than you currently realize. I wish you could see yourself through my eyes and see just how beautiful and full of potential you all are. While I'm sufficient in and of myself, I love sharing my laughter and my cooking and my company with other people. I love other men, the special bond that I have with my brothers, how I see aspects of myself mirrored in them, how we can laugh and share together. I love how we inspire each other and give each other new ideas, and how we lift each other up if we happen to stumble. My friends are so precious to me. I love women, how they laugh, how soft they are, the emotions that flow through them, how they call out people's nonsense. I love how women are like the tides, how they are like the seasons, ever flowing. I love taking a woman's hand and leading her to the dance floor. When I take charge, I love how the woman looks at me, lets go of control, returns to her essence, follows my lead, and then just is. It's so rewarding when we're both just ourselves, in the present moment, with no preconceptions, and we just see what kind of experience unfolds between us in that moment. I love such co-creations. They're always magical. Sure, I can create things by myself, but when I'm with a woman and we're both just ourselves and present and open, then it's like alchemy. You have two different elements coming together, and things are transformed, or beautiful and magical new things are co-created. I love it when a woman looks me in the eyes and she clearly she needs to be intimate with me. So many things can be communicated through eye contact. So many things can be communicated through touch. Have you ever touched someone while you were fully conscious and present in that moment? Have you ever been touched, slowly, by someone who is fully conscious and present in that moment? I love the sounds that women make during lovemaking. Moan in my ears, a real moan, the kind that you couldn't hold back even if you tried, and I might not be able to control myself anymore. The more that women express themselves, inside and outside the bedroom, the more I enjoy it and the more I love her, because all of her is welcome. I want to see and experience it all, and I want to see and experience and love all of her. I haven't ever seen a part in anyone that wasn't worthy of love. The more that a woman is insecure about some part of her, the more love that I want to give to it, the more love that I want to give to her. If I'm with a woman, I want to give her my all. My heart is also big enough to hold all of her and hold all of my community besides. I have a very big heart. I can be a big softie. I love children because they have such pure joy. How much closer can you get to source than when you look in the eyes of a child? As I mentioned, my wife blessed me with a son recently, and he really is my greatest teacher. I thought that was just a cliche, or that parents simply weren't being objective because they loved their child so much. But no, it's true, you really can learn so much from your child. I love him, and I love my wife so much. I'm sure that so many amazing adventures and beautiful experiences await our family, and I want to show my son and my wife all of the richness that the universe has to offer. So, this is my flavor of the unblocked masculine. It feels freaking amazing. In this pre-landing time, you are invited to tune into this energy, see how it feels for you, and if you wish, you can adopt some of this energy and this attitude yourself. Both men and women are invited to do so. Hopefully, this message can also help both men and women get rid of some of their resistance to masculinity. Masculinity isn't the problem. What I described here is pure masculinity, and it's freaking amazing. I love it, and I'm sure you do too. And the road to where I am doesn't involve fighting against or resisting masculinity. I don't judge things, I don't exclude things, I don't say no. I include things like I include people, I include everything, and I say yes, yes, and yes, and yes again. Thank you, channeler. You did great. And don't worry, Earthmen, I'm happily married now, so when we finally land, I won't be seducing all the single women. I am really looking forward to finally physically meeting you, my amazing Earth brothers and sisters. I love you so much. There are so many things that I would like to share with you. I know you're struggling right now, and I would love to offer you a supportive hand. There is so much that I would like to learn about you and your culture. There are so many things that I would love to experience together with you, and it's always fun when I can see things and planets and concepts that I'm familiar with through the enthusiastic eyes of someone who is new to them. I know that we will be able to co-create some beautiful and amazing times together. Your star brother,